Welcome back to the Zero to Here podcast. I am your host, Denny Duma. I am super excited about tonight's podcast. Producer Carl, how you doing?
Good. How are you, Denny?
Very well, Carl. Very well. Carl and I had a nice little get-together over the weekend. We did dinner at the Peaceful Restaurant. First time I've been there in Vancouver. Great Chinese food. Very mediocre service, but very good Chinese food. And then we did a little comedy show. It was pretty entertaining, Carl.
That was good.
We had a good time. Tonight's session is going to be on the Seattle Seahawks. And you're probably wondering, how does this relate to business? The answer is it does not. But this is my show. Carl has a little bit of a say in what we do on the show, but it's my show, and I want to chat about the Seattle Seahawks, so I'm going to do so. Where to begin with my love affair with the Seahawks? I grew up playing football in high school. My very first Seahawks game, which was life-changing, was the wild card playoff game against the Dallas Cowboys in 2007. Carl, do you have any idea what game I'm talking about? All right, you're going to know once I get into it. January 6, 2007. NFL was just kind of hitting the radar for me as I was playing football in high school. I was 17 at the time. My oldest brother has season tickets that mostly were given away for the pubs, for my dad's pubs, just as kind of gifts and raffles and stuff like that. But we got the playoff tickets. So me, Vinny, Tim went down to Seattle. My first NFL experience. I was absolutely blown away by the stadium. If any of you have been to a Seahawks game, you know how ridiculously loud it gets when the Seahawks are on defense. It literally is mind-blowing how loud 72,000 people can be when they're all screaming. And the fun fact about being in the Seahawks stadium is if they're on defense and you're not screaming, people are like upset at you. They're mad, and they especially if you're wearing a jersey, they know you're not a real fan if you're not yelling. And people always ask me, "What are you yelling?" And you're like, "I don't know. I can't hear what I'm saying. I'm literally just making as much noise as possible, and it is so loud in there. I don't know how offenses can run. It obviously has to be. It has to be like there's no snap count. It's just like silent snaps every time, but." Anyway, so this game, I'm going to fast forward through the game. It was an awesome, really close game, the whole game. A minute 19 left in the game, Carl. The Cowboys are down by 1. It's 21-20 for the Seahawks. The Cowboys are on the 10-yard line, fourth and goal or something like that. And they kick a field goal. Tony Romo's the holder. Tony Romo fumbles the snap on a 10-yard field goal, tries to run, picks up the ball, tries to run around, and gets tackled on the 1. So with a minute 20 left, the Seahawks take over on the 1-yard line, up by 1. And it was so ridiculous how loud the stadium was. It was absolutely insane. But literally from that moment on, and they won the game. From that moment on, I was a diehard Seahawks fan. I was just kind of getting into NFL, so I didn't really have a team or really follow it that closely. But after that, just that being in that atmosphere was so contagious, and it was insane. Fast forward 7 years, probably, Carl, to this day, the best day of my life. February 2nd, 2014. Do you know what this day is? The Seahawks won the Super Bowl. So literally dream season for me. And at this point, I watch every game. If I'm working or whatever, I'm taping the games and watching them at night. I can't remember their record. They were something like 14-2 or 13-3 that year. They were really good and one of the favorites to win the Super Bowl. They make it to the Super Bowl. I think, if I remember correctly, they were down in the NFC Championship game and had a big comeback to make the Super Bowl. But getting in the Super Bowl playing against Peyton Manning and the Broncos, and they just crushed them. It wasn't even a game. I think they went 40. It was like 43-8 or 41-8 or something like that, and it was probably the best day of my life. Yeah, I was on a pretty good high for the next few weeks after that. It was pretty exciting. It was a lot of trash talk towards all my friends that told me that I was a bandwagon jumper. But being a Seahawks fan for 7 years at that point, I feel like I went through some shit
Oh, yeah, for sure.
to get there. The year after was brutal. Do you remember the year after? Oh my God.
Marshawn Lynch.
Because going into they make the Super Bowl for the second year in a row, coming back after being Super Bowl champs, which is ultra rare, right?
Yeah.
Most teams have the Super Bowl hangover, come back, don't even make the playoffs or lose first round of the playoffs. The Seahawks look very, very good all year. Make it back to the Super Bowl. Playing against Tom Brady, who is probably, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say he's the worst human being on earth. He's a piece of shit. And the Patriots, and have a really solid game. Look like they're in control a lot of the game. Tom Brady makes a few lucky throws. Go up by, I think they're up by 4 or 6 or something like that. And Russell Wilson, probably the best quarterback in NFL history, marches down the field. We're on the 1 yard line with like a minute left in the game, and they throw a pick on the goal line. And we lose. It was a tough day. It was a tough month. It's been a tough 4 years. But I'm recovering, and it's been last couple of years have been a bit rough. Missed the playoffs last year. This year is what they're calling a rebuilding year. But we've played well.
You have a chance.
We have an outside chance of making the playoffs. We're 4-5 right now. We've played the best team in the league twice already, the Rams, and both games have been within 6 points. Had opportunities to win. But I think they're going to be back soon. We just need to keep hold of Russ. Russ is, I love that guy. He's so good. They've been, I don't know if you know, but they were super lucky to get, Paul Allen bought them, I don't know how long ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, or something like that. And he kept them in Seattle, literally built the franchise back up. And it was, it's pretty cool for me as a fan to have a team so close that I get to go to games every 2 or 3 games a year. The atmosphere is just insane. And I love those dudes so much. Pete Carroll, come on, man. I love Pete Carroll so much. He gets paid like $6 or $7 million a year, and he wears the worst Nike training shoes of all time. Nike Monarchs. If you haven't watched the YouTube video of Russell Wilson dressing up as Pete Carroll for Halloween, you got to watch it because it's brilliant. He somehow finds these old Nike Monarchs that Pete Carroll wears, and it's hilarious. I do get razzed a lot for being a Seahawks fan because they've been good in the last 5 years, and people tell me that I'm a bandwagon jumper. All these Seahawks fans are shitty, and I would like to personally say fuck you to all of you. But there are a lot of terrible Seahawks fans, and I ran into one last weekend. So I was at the game last weekend, and we had pretty good seats. We were like 40-yard line, row 8 or 9, and there's this, to be nice, chubby American dude sitting behind me, probably in his early 50s, probably shit-faced. But the whole game, he's wearing a Seahawks jersey, and the whole game he's just like hating on them so hard. He's saying, "Oh, Russell Wilson's so overrated. This is such bullshit. He's playing like shit." And I can't take it anymore, right? So I turn around and I'm with Lauren, right? And she's like, don't say anything. And I'm like, fuck that. I'm going to say something. So I turn around and I'm like, dude, what the fuck's your problem, man? You're wearing a Seahawks jersey. You got to like, just shut the fuck up. Or I don't know what I said. And he's like, man, the guy's playing so bad. I'm like, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. What are you talking about? He doesn't have an offensive line. He's been playing 2 years without anyone blocking for him. What do you want from him? He's like, oh, he's shit. Anyway, conversation ends. Next drive, marches down the field, gets us back to within 8. Look back at him. He's like, all right, yeah, okay. I guess he's okay, yeah. I'm like, fuck off. This piece of shit. So those guys are pieces of shit, not me. I love the Seahawks, regardless of what their record is. Anyway. I don't know where I'm going with this. I love the Seahawks. I'm going to the game on Thursday against the Packers. Literally cannot wait to dominate Aaron Rodgers, although I really like Aaron Rodgers. But I think we need to get back on the winning streak here, get back to 500, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say the Seahawks make the playoffs as a wildcard team because the Rams have the division locked up. But we are going to make the playoffs, and I foresee an upset round one. Later.